I was heading home from Kansas City to Denver, a 7-hour trip that I'd taken plenty of times before. The cheapest option was the night bus. Not the most comfortable, but it got the job done. I usually slept through most of it, curled up against the window with my earbuds in, trying to drown out the hum of the tires. This time, though, I never got the chance to sleep. The bus was half empty when I boarded, a few scattered passengers, most keeping to themselves. A man in a baseball cap snored softly in the back row. A young couple sat a few rows ahead of me, whispering to each other in hushed tones. The air smelled faintly of stale coffee and road dust. We pulled out of the station just as the sun dipped below the horizon. I slipped my backpack under my seat and got comfortable, grateful for the empty row. The dark fields blurred past the window, mile after mile of nothingness. I must have drifted a little because the next thing I knew, the bus was pulling into a small-town station, its single streetlight buzzing weakly in the dark. That's when he got on. He was tall, lean, dressed in a heavy denim jacket that looked stiff with grime. His hair was dark and greasy, strands falling in front of his hollow face. No bags, just his hands stuffed deep into his pockets. His eyes were hard to miss, sunken, pale, like he hadn't slept in days. He didn't hesitate, didn't glance around to pick a spot. He walked straight down the aisle and dropped into the seat across from me. Not next to me, but close enough that I could feel the weight of his presence. There were at least a dozen empty rows he could have chosen. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Maybe he just liked sitting near people. Maybe it made him feel safer. But the way he sat, stiff, unmoving, made my skin crawl. I tried to ignore him, turning my attention back to my phone. The dim glow of the screen felt like a shield. True crime podcasts usually relaxed me, but the narrator's voice barely registered. Every so often, I risked a glance. He wasn't looking at his phone or out the window. He wasn't doing anything. He was staring at me. His eyes didn't waver, didn't blink, just two dull, empty orbs locked on me like I was something to be studied. My pulse quickened, but I kept my head down. Maybe he wasn't really staring. Maybe he was zoned out, lost in thought. That's what I told myself. The bus rolled on, the darkness outside growing thicker. The only light came from the occasional glow of a gas station sign or the dim lamps lining empty streets. Most of the passengers were asleep by now, heads bobbing with the bus's movements. The only sound was the rhythmic drone of the engine. But he didn't sleep. Every time I looked up, his eyes were there, watching. I shifted uncomfortably, pulling my jacket tighter around me. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was just tired. But the weight of his stare never left. At the next stop, a few people got off. I thought, maybe he will too. But he stayed. And when the doors hissed shut and the bus groaned back onto the road, I felt the pit in my stomach grow heavier. I decided to move, just a few rows up closer to the driver. The air felt easier to breathe up there. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see if he was still watching. But I felt him. Minutes passed, maybe hours. I don't know. Every bump in the road jolted me from the edge of sleep. At one point, I turned my head slightly, pretending to check the time. And there he was. He had moved. 2 rows behind me now, still staring. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of my seat. My phone was at 14%, the battery icon flashing. I considered messaging someone. Anyone. But what would I say? There's a man staring at me on the bus. That didn't sound like enough. And the driver? I'd seen him once during boarding, a gruff, older guy who barely acknowledged anyone. Would he even care? The bus made another stop at a small, run-down rest area. It wasn't much, just a flickering neon sign above a gas station and a couple of vending machines. The driver announced a 10-minute break. I hesitated. Getting off meant being alone in the dark. Staying on the bus meant being alone with him. In the end, I chose the dark. The cold air hit me as soon as I stepped outside. I pretended to stretch, pulling out my phone like I was checking messages. My heart pounded. I didn't want to look back at the bus, but I couldn't help it. There he was, sitting in his seat, still staring. Except now he was smiling. Not a grin, not even a smirk, just a slight upward curl of his lips, something that felt wrong, empty, like he was enjoying this. I didn't go far, just a few steps from the bus, pretending to admire the bleak night sky. The seconds crawled by. When the driver finally called us back, I hesitated, but I couldn't stay out there, not alone. Back on the bus, I rushed to my seat. I didn't check to see where he was. I didn't want to know. I forced myself to face forward. Just a few more hours. That's what I told myself. Just a few more hours. And then, without warning, the bus stopped. Not at a station, not at a rest stop, just the side of the road surrounded by endless darkness. The driver stood muttering something about a mechanical issue. We'd be delayed. That's when I heard it. A low, raspy chuckle. I whipped around. The man was gone. His seat was empty. My pulse thudded as I scanned the darkened bus. The other passengers were still half asleep. The driver had disappeared outside to check the engine. But the man was nowhere. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw it. A crumpled piece of paper left on his seat. Trembling, I reached for it. The paper was old, stained. The writing was jagged, uneven. "See you next time." I never saw him again. But sometimes when I board a bus at night, I still feel it. The stare, and I wonder if he's out there, watching and waiting.